What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Move Better channel. I am your host, Dr. Joe. This is the Professor John Penisarada. Today, we're going to be talking to you guys about the 5 best exercises that you could do for your mobility.
Yes,
Let's get it going. So, John, are there 5 best exercises for mobility? What do we got?
There's so many exercises, but in regards to improving mobility, you just have to cover all the different planes, all the different movements that our body are designed to do.
So what is mobility? What's the difference between mobility and flexibility?
So mobility and flexibility. Mobility is basically being able to move through your range of motion with control, right? Flexibility is when you're trying to improve the range of motion or the lengthening of the muscle tissues. Yeah.
So a lot of people get that mixed up with, or they kind of put that in together as and
one
they think
thing,
that's
right.
one thing. When mobility is actually controlling our range of motion,
Absolutely,
right?
yep.
And then flexibility is simply just lengthening the tissues, kind of like stretching, right?
Yep.
We want to control our body more. And so in order to work on controlling our body, we've got to work on the things that our body is capable of doing. Now, we hear a lot of restrictions nowadays, right? We hear, don't do this, don't do that. It's going to hurt your back. It's going to hurt this, or it's going to hurt that. We're so scared about getting hurt that we end up not moving at all.
That's right.
And that's something that we want to tell everyone that's out there. We've got to keep moving. Athletes from all different age ranges, they all get injured. From the youngest kids, they get injured, to the oldest adults, they get injured.
Right?
Yeah, they're
Even
all
professional
professionals
athletes.
in this way, and they still get injured. So it's a matter of us trying to figure out how we can keep in the game and keep going.
Right.
With these 5 best exercises, we're not going to talk about 5 best exercises. We're going to talk about the different movements that you guys can work on in order to retrain your movement patterns. So the first one that I like to say is always, push. A push exercise is number 1. So the push exercise that we can do, simply put, go ahead and get down on the floor, John. So any type of push exercises, you can start from a plank position here. Go ahead, push up, John. How many push-ups can you do? Can you get off the floor? John, lay flat on the floor. So for a person that is working more of a remedial exercise or a basic exercise, keep those knees down. We want to just work on getting up from the floor. Get up, push. There's our first push exercise. You can start with your knees. You can get down from on the ground, keep your knees down, work on that push-up. Then you can make it even harder by dropping your hips down, keeping your knees down. And now lift up. There you go. So now he's pushing his whole body up into the air. Go ahead and walk yourself back, John. Now he's going to work a little bit more on the hinge. Now he's going to get himself up. All right, so number 1 is the push. Can you do a push exercise from your legs? Yes, we can. Simply put, we can work on the squat. So the squat is a good exercise to do because now you're using your legs. We need to learn how to get up from a squatting position or from the floor. And no matter what we do, if we're talking about functional movement here, we need to learn how to get up from the floor. If you've taken a fall, we don't want to say, I've fallen and I can't get myself back up. We want to get ourselves back up, right? So we've got to use these muscles in order to help be able to gain access to the movements that allow us to be functional in our daily activities.
By the way, I'm over 40. Don't think age is the factor.
So the next primary exercise that I like to do is a pull exercise. Now notice the exercises that John's doing right now. He's working in a bilateral stance, right? His feet are in alignment with each other. He's not going down and going to a single leg stance just yet, which could be harder for some people. So we want to make sure that you work on things that can work for you, right? If the bilateral stance works best, go for it. If a single stance or a split stance works better for you, you could do that too. So it all depends on where you are at with your fitness and your movement levels. So, John, the next exercise, number 2, is a pull. Now we've got a Yeti over here that we've brought out. We were going to bring a kettlebell, but we're trying to get something that you guys may be able to have at home. You may have a backpack, a lunchbox, something that you can fill up. Add a little bit of weight to it. Whatever you have at home, work on some type of pulling exercise. So John, what he's going to do here is he's just going to work on picking that Yeti up and pulling it up. So these are the pull exercises. This is here him standing over and working on a row. Does he have to do a row? Well, he can also do a dead hang and a lift, and he can stand on up. So this is a pull exercise from the floor. We can work on these deadlifts. We could work on those rows, those bent over rows. Anything that's going to help activate some of those posterior chain exercises or muscles that's going to work to help keep him upright, be able to pull, be able to strengthen his posterior chain. Okay? All right, so number 3 is the hinge. Now, we've noticed that John is actually doing a few exercises with his hips hinging back. Notice that your daily routines, your daily activities requires you to hinge. Pick things up from the floor, grab things, pull things, lean forward, washing the dishes, whatever it is, going to the bathroom, sitting down, squatting. We require our hips to hinge. And if we're losing that ability to hinge, we're losing the functionality of our spine. We want to work on the hinge. We want to be able to take the load. We want to get the core to be functioning the way we need it to function. So hinging is a big part of it. Now he can hinge, turn and face this way. He can hinge with a bilateral stance. Go ahead and hinge down. So if it's tough for you to do this in a bilateral stance, we're going to go into the single stance. Go ahead and bring that right leg back. Put the foot down. Yeah, there you go. And he can do it in a split stance here. And then he can do it in a single leg stance. And reaching down and coming back up. Now, even if this is a little tough for you, go ahead and relax, John. We're going to use this as a wall here. If that's a little tough for you, one of the things that you could do is you can get that kettlebell, you can get that weight, you can get that backpack, whatever you're doing, and you can work on just tapping your butt to the wall. You don't have to bring the weight all the way down to the ground if you don't have that control. Just have your butt touch the wall, come right back up. Touch the wall, come right back up. And that's all you need in order to start working that hinge. All right, so number 4 is we've got the carry. So as he's already been doing, he's got the push and he's got the pull, he's got the carry in his hand. So carry, we want to change it up a little bit. We don't want to just be pulling things from the floor. We want to hold heavier things in our hands. And now when he's doing this, his is a unilateral hold with a bilateral stance. And at this point right now, he's challenging his core. He's challenging his shoulder. He's trying to allow his spine turn around. With the weight that's in one hand that's pulling him, he's got to counterbalance and pull back the opposite way. So what is going to happen here is he's going to challenge the core musculature and keep his spine trying to stay upright as much as possible when he's holding this weight. Now notice what he just did there. He stood up straight. Naturally, your body will form to the amount of weight that you put onto your hand. You want to put a good amount of load. You want to put a good amount of strength into the shoulder to allow your core to start working. So you don't necessarily need to be doing ab crunches, sit-ups, rotational movements in order to activate those core musculature. The core musculature, you can just simply add weight to one side and the core muscles are going to start to activate. So number 5, like we said before, we want to get into working in different planes. A lot of what we just did right now was we went forward, we went backwards. We're staying in this plane right over here. We want to work a little bit more on rotational aspects or rotational movements that challenge the mobility of our spine, the control of our spine. So John, you're going to go ahead and get on down, and now we're going to make this a fairly simple exercise here. We're going to get him into a 4-point stance, or quadruped stance is what we call it. And from here, we're simply just trying to work on the rotation of his upper mid-back spine. Okay, go ahead and place your hands. There you go, perfect. And all he's going to do is a simple rotational movement that works on patterns of his thoracic spine. Now, if you have lower back issues, one of the things that you could do is you could just sit straight back into this and kind of lock that lumbar spine while he works on the rotation of his thoracic spine. But rotational movements is an essential movement for our body to gain access to controlling our mobility. Go ahead and try the other side. rotation down, rotation back up. Cool. All right, everyone, try those 5 movement patterns that may be able to help you gain access to that mobility that you've been looking for. If you guys like what we're doing here, like, subscribe, share, send to your friends and family that may be looking for more
Mobility.
improving their mobility. Exactly. Thanks, John. See you guys on the next video.